Hello, welcome everybody, and we're live on the Llama Commerce Show. I'm Kurt Theobald, CEO at Classy Llama.
And I'm Brett Curry, lead strategist at Classy Llama.
And today we have a very special guest.
We do. His name is Don Harkey, and as you can tell, he is the best dressed one in the room. So that usually means, if you're wearing a tie, that means a couple of things. It means you're really smart, and probably you're really good, and you're either famous or you're on your way to being famous. Mm-hmm. And I think we can say all those things are true about our good friend.
Or it means that someone played a prank on him and told him that this is a highly formal event and made him dress up for it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Also a possibility.
It is, it is. So
anyway, as always, we are here to demystify e-commerce into digestible, actionable bites. We have our good friend who's always on the show, Ott. He is our one-armed table tennis trophy. That's where he gets the name Ott.
Clever, by the way.
And it's very clever. And he is missing an arm. And at the end of the show, we always give this trophy to whomever delivers the most value on the show. And then they can't keep it, and they have to leave it on my shelf.
It's an award that you don't get to keep, and it's
like a traveling trophy that doesn't travel.
Exactly.
Very confusing.
Travels with it stays
very confusing.
in one place, which is good.
So today we're talking about getting unstuck.
Unstuck.
Yeah. So I actually brought a little souvenir to help us all understand what this means.
A little visual aid, if you will.
When you get stuck, you use one of these. And Jesse Tyler actually thought of this. This is a turd's eye view. Have you ever heard of a bird's eye view? That's a turd's eye view.
And you know what's interesting, though?
That's pretty funny, isn't it?
Whenever you've got the issues that takes care of, and you're stuck in your own business, sometimes it's for the same reasons. Occasionally.
Wow.
But
this is getting deep.
It is getting deep.
Deep in a lot of ways.
Yeah, okay. So we brought Don on the show. Now, Don is not an e-commerce expert per se, but he works with a lot of large companies, from manufacturing to retail to service-based businesses. He also speaks all over the Midwest, and he talks about how you get the most from your people and how you also make sure that your business has the right strategy. The name of his company is People-Centric Consulting Group. I know we very often find clients that need his help, and we push them his way. He's one of the most liked guys that I know. Like people that see, other than you, Kurt.
Yeah, I don't like him at all.
Yeah.
I resisted having him on the show. But
exactly.
No, I'm just kidding. I taught Don how to hug, and so now we hug.
I was standing right here.
Whoa! I thought he was remote.
Oh no, he's in the studio. But today we're talking about getting unstuck. So what happens in your e-commerce business, as with any business, you get to a point where you're just stuck. You can't overcome a hurdle, a problem, an issue, a hang-up, and you really don't know what to do. So we're going to definitely apply this to e-commerce, but this also will apply to just about any business. And I think this is one of the big things that holds people back from growing and reaching their full potential. They get to a place, an impasse, if you will, and they don't know where to go from there.
Yeah, it's like every time we talk about e-commerce, we say, hey, remember, e-commerce is just business. It's just
a channel, really.
Yeah, it's a channel of business. It's a way of doing business. And so what Don helps companies do every day is highly applicable to e-commerce. And Don, actually, you made some really good points before the show as we were doing the pre-show around your experience with e-commerce and how this actually is maybe particularly poignantly applicable.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things we always hear from businesses is our business is different. Our industry is different.
Everybody says that.
And everybody says that, right? So I always laugh whenever you hear that from a business owner. It's small. My business is totally different. But e-commerce especially needs a lot more help in business because the business that you're in is kind of sexy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new tools that are out there. There's always stuff that's happening, and you can use this new super Twitter thing or the new, I don't know, I'm not a huge online guy. I've been online.
It's called Facebook.
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 The Facebook and stuff. Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm of course I'm on all those things.
Facebook.
Yeah,
call it the Facebook. That's a cool way to say it.
That's a cool way.
Yeah.
So when you're on the internet, I mean, there's a lot of new tools
on the line.
and things.
On the line is how you say it.
On the line. You're on the line. There's so many new things and things that can distract you from the business things that you're supposed to be learning. And I think really a lot of businesses, the biggest opportunity is looking inside themselves, looking at their own people and finding out how can they perform better.
Right. I think it's really cool. Like over the last few weeks, we had our good friend from the Good Wheel Company talking about service.
Tyler Headley.
Yeah, Tyler. So the things he uncovered really were almost more foundational business aha moments or strategies, almost more than they were e-commerce. He applied them in a unique way.
That's right.
I think this is kind of the same thing coming from a how do we tackle problems, issues, opportunities, and look at it in a creative way.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you always talk about, Brett, how marketing is marketing.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter whether it's online or not online, right? You can't
nuances, little tweaks and stuff.
Yeah, you can't just suddenly go get a new tactic and suddenly apply it to your business and it suddenly takes off.
Yeah.
There's a lot of studies out there. Jim Collins, Good to Great, they talk about technology. It's a driver. It's a thing. It's not the thing that takes you there. It's the thing that helps you to get there. So it's people who don't use technology that are successful. It's people who leverage technology that are successful. So you can't run an e-commerce business that just utilizes really good tools and be successful. You have to run a good e-commerce business, which means running a good business too.
Not sustainable anyway. I think like 10 years ago, there was a lot of traction being gained because people had these technologically, wizardry or whatever. But the reality is, those who win out and are sustainable are those that do exactly what you're taking. They run good business, not good technology.
Yeah, there's timing things that you can get into, right? You can buy at the right time and buy low, and it suddenly it spikes on you, and you're on the bubble. But you know what happens to bubbles?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if someone is stuck, and it's going to happen to everybody. I mean, Kurt, I know you were talking about pre-show that Classy Llama was even there not that long ago.
We're there like every other day, and then we've got to figure out. But like there's been some really big epic moments where we're like, we're stuck. What are we going to do?
I don't know if I can live in a world where I would believe that.
What?
The Classy Llama gets stuck.
Oh, I know. Isn't that jarring?
It's hard to believe.
Your emotional fabric.
Llamas are immune. You need to come back to you.
Yeah, we really try to put that perfect.
Can we shut this off?
Okay, you're back now? Okay.
Sorry,
so what do you think is the first step, though, Don? So you're stuck. What is the first step to correcting that path?
The first thing is you have to know that you're stuck. We work in our business so much that we know so much about it that we miss the most obvious things sometimes. I know you guys have all been in that situation before where something's happening just over and over again, but you're stuck in this paradigm, and I love using that term because it happens so much. You're in it on a day-to-day basis. You're seeing what you're doing. Somebody from the outside comes in and asks you a question, and you don't have a good answer for it. Why are we doing that?
You're seeing it through your lens and your lens only, and you can't see past it.
That's right. I mean, just last year, one of the things that we do is we always encourage people obviously to bring somebody else in from the outside to help them. Bring some outside insight.
Fresh perspective.
It could be a consultant, or it could be a friend, or somebody just from outside of your business that can come in and take a look and say, hey, why are you doing it this way? We believe in it so strongly. We did some strategic planning in December. My firm, People Centric Consulting Group. We brought in an outside consultant.
So you guys offer strategic planning and consulting, and you brought in a
we brought in somebody else who does the consulting to help us, and they ask some really, really great questions. And there are areas that you're stuck in, and it may not be an area that you're stuck in. You know that you're stuck in. We were doing a monthly event. This is a good example. We were doing a monthly event here in Springfield. We were attracting lots of people. No problem. Sometimes we got over 100 people in the room, and we worked really hard to get this event going. And
people loved it.
People loved it. They liked it. Yeah. And whenever we really sat back and looked at our strategic planning session, our consultant said, "What's this getting for you?" And at the end of the day, we kind of looked at it and we said, "Well, we feel good about it." Yeah, we don't get a ton of leads from it. It's kind of some energy from that. And we're kind of getting known as the event people and not really as the consulting people by some. So we have this little bit of a branding issue going on now. But we sure spend a lot of time doing it.
Yeah.
So we kind of said, why do you do it? Well, let's stop. So we stopped. And I mean, there's things like that where you don't even realize necessarily that you're stuck, but you're spinning your wheels on things that you don't need to be spinning your wheels on.
I think, Don, one of the most important things that you guys really, really messed up on early on that I think I brought to your attention was you called it people-centric planning early on, and then you would ask people, hey, we want you to get on PCP. And then I said, Don, do you understand? That's a drug, man. And then it changed, and I'm really glad that it did, because I mean, most people really thought you were trying to sell them drugs.
I get that a lot. And I think it's because of the way I dress. When you're dressed like this,
it's a little questionable.
I ask you all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
I won't pull the jar out off camera here. Whatever.
There's no jar.
There's no jar filled with something.
I actually have a jar of tea, of like peppermint tea that looks a lot like pot, but it's really peppermint tea.
It's really
it is.
Yes, indeed it is. So you got to identify that you're stuck. So how do you think you uncover that? So you say bring in an outside consultant, which is good. People might not be ready for that right now, per se. Is there something they can do today? Is there something they can do today to realize they were unstuck, aside from a consultant?
If you're not doing anything outside of your business, if you don't have anybody outside of your business that you can go to, whether it's another business owner or a friend or something, you need to get out. Mm-hmm. You're spending too much time in your business. Mm-hmm. You're going to be stuck in that paradigm for forever, and you're not going to be able to identify even the areas that you need to identify. Mm-hmm. So you should be out networking. You should be meeting people. So hopefully you've got friends, right? So go to some of those friends that you trust. Have them come into your business and ask them some questions and say, here's what our plan is.
Offer to do the same for them.
And offer,
their business.
Make it reciprocal.
Yeah.
a lot of times just even having conversations with other people of, hey, how do you do this?
Yeah.
How do you do this? It just opens up the mind. Reading a lot is a good thing. Reading case studies online. Reading. Yeah, looking on the interwebs for articles and things. It's always a good way to keep up with what's going on. But I think you just got to get out. You got to get out of your business.
One of the things that we've been doing is we joined a mastermind group, all with other e-commerce merchants, and so regularly we're bringing in. Nobody's competing. We're bringing ideas to the table and saying, hey, this is an issue we're facing. What say you about this? And we kind of roundtable that. We also, all the merchants in the mastermind group will come with, hey, this is what's working really well for us. It's all confidential. We're not sharing anything. So that idea of a mastermind group or a coaching group, that could also be pretty powerful.
And actually one thing that all three of us, there's a few options here. One thing that the three of us did at one point in time with others is we had a virtual board of advisors.
Yeah.
And so we actually sat down and we each took 20 minutes in a 2-hour meeting, and those 20 minutes, everybody else was our board. And so they gave us feedback. It was like a peer group. And it was really, really great. I mean, I think there's a reason why virtually all of us ended up being, having very successful businesses that we started from scratch.
I think that made a dramatic impact on all three of our businesses.
It did.
I agree.
I really do. I think that changed,
awesome.
Fundamentally changed directions that we were going before, just because you have to say it out loud to somebody who doesn't see it every day, who can say, that makes
sanity
sense.
check that.
That does not make sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That does not make sense.
And it's just so refreshing to have someone who will ask the tough questions for you, or say that's dumb, or why are you doing that? You have to have that.
I mean, some people had to say that was dumb to you more than maybe others.
Yeah.
But
I get that a lot. And when it wasn't you guys, it was my wife, so that's always good.
So that's like when you have, maybe it's not as industry specific, but you can also build out, like Classy Llama now has a board of advisors that we get together with on a quarterly basis that that have experience as entrepreneurs or specifically in the agency side of things, and we bring those people together on a quarterly basis to create that kind of feedback mechanism from the outside. And that's been invaluable for us as well. I mean, I think the point is there's a lot of mechanisms for this, but it is a commitment as like a fundamental to your business to have this mechanism of some sort in place to generate outside feedback. I think it's critical.
I think a lot of business owners are afraid of looking stupid.
Yes.
I know so much about my business, I don't want to go outside and act like I don't know what I'm doing. Right? We have to know everything. We're the ones supposed to have the answers, or people are looking to us for the answers. But if you think about big organizations that were stuck, right, and didn't go outside for that, like a Blockbuster Video, right? We're a video rental store. Well, how can we expand that? Well, we could put boxes of video rental outside there, but they didn't even come up with that first.
They had an opportunity to buy it. I read that an opportunity to buy a red box.
Oh, really?
And they chose not to.
And they chose not to. And then a Netflix comes in, where Blockbuster should have been in a much better position to do a Netflix thing than Netflix was ever. And they already had all the deals with all of the movie producers and all of that. They could have done Netflix and done it pretty easily. But Netflix comes in from the outside and does it. They just there's a lot of smart people that get stuck. Everybody gets stuck. You get locked down in what you do. You've got to get outside.
Do you think that Blockbuster knew that they were stuck?
I wonder about that.
Like, they may not have even been aware of it.
I think that they knew that they were stuck, but I don't think that in their mind a radical change was changing the color of the store.
Well, wasn't it too late before they knew that they were stuck? Like, they probably knew they were stuck when competitors started taking market share, not 5 or 10 years before, where they could have made a change.
I don't know. We work with a lot of different industries. Like, one industry that's going through a rapid change right now is healthcare, and we work with a couple of different healthcare companies, and they recognize that the change is going to be massive, but they have trouble even thinking about how massive it could be. So just the fundamental things that they do on a day-to-day basis, they just really, really struggle with.
They're too close to it, and that's why you need that outside perspective to look back and see what's the macro changes that are coming.
So to recognize that you are potentially stuck, you got to have mechanisms that are bringing those things to the forefront.
Yeah.
Outside consultant, mastermind group, advisory board, something showing you all the time, hey, you're stuck here now, or you're about to be stuck here if you don't take some action.
It seems like oftentimes the hardest place to know whether you're stuck is when you're closest to the thing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why you need that outside perspective.
Yeah, and then the second thing that you need to do is decide what you're going to do. And that's what you're talking about. Did Blockbuster Video know they were stuck? Probably they didn't know how stuck they were.
Right.
And when they decided what to do, you've got a bunch of people who run video stores for their whole careers trying to figure out what do we do next with our video stores.
And they're singing from that paradigm.
And let's
improve the way we run the video store. That's probably what they're thinking.
So again, it's not a bad idea to bring some outside people in to try to brainstorm some ideas. But there's a great outside resource that a lot of businesses have that they don't utilize, and it's actually their own people. a lot of times we'll talk about, you could go into a company, you could bring a team of experts that spend 40 hours a week inside of your own business. They know your industry, they know your own inner workings. How much would you pay for that? And we always hear clients say, well, geez, that would be fantastic. They would have so much knowledge. And it's like, it's your own
tens
people.
of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
No, wait, what?
It's your own people.
Yeah, we're already paying for it. Right?
You're already paying for it. When I first got into consulting, I had a consultant tell me that what you need to do in consulting is you go to the boss and you ask them what's wrong, and then you go to the employees and ask them how to fix it. And then you go back and you present it to the boss, right? And I thought, well, that's true. I've seen that before. What we do though is we say, how do we teach the boss and the employees to talk to each other?
So we can get out of the way.
So we can just get out of the way and allow that communication to flow.
Yeah. Because the first scenario is not sustainable unless you were there all
It's
the
like
time.
a chiropractor you have to constantly visit to get your back adjusted. Yeah. Instead, you want to find those people that actually like make your back to where it never has to be adjusted again, or it's self-adjusting, or you can adjust it yourself.
It's creating this process, this ongoing process inside the company that really, I think, will cause you to identify where you're stuck and get unstuck very rapidly.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Don, are you self-plugging on our show?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay,
No.
sorry. I thought that you
We
were
have
like
people-centric consulting group. Don't do that. Actually, if you look at our website at peopleccg.com, you will see that we are just absolutely the most humble consulting firm you'll ever see.
Yeah, you can call us, in fact, and we'll talk about it.
Come visit us at the Small Business Award lunch next week, where we're one of the finalists, and you can check that out, and you'll find out that we are very, very, very humble.
Okay, well, I know who's not getting the trophy.
You're going to receive that award with the utmost of humility.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and I mean, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes. Oh, I think
I just wanted to check. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any self-plugging going on.
No, I'm the humblest person you'll ever meet in your life.
Wow. That's amazing.
That is amazing. Man.
So, Don, what I want to hear about is some like real-life examples of where you've experienced this flow happen, and like what did that look like? Like, give us that. That is really helpful to hear those examples so we can actually see the details of it.
Okay. And the step that we didn't really talk about is you got to change something.
Oh, that's true.
Change it,
Good
right?
point.
You've identified it. Now you know what you're going to do. Now you have to change it. And there's a lot of companies that take the first two steps and not the third.
And they get stuck again.
And they get stuck.
So that's actually the hard
part.
part.
Get stuck?
The hard part is making the change.
It's very hard.
Because it means abandoning traditions or things you've
God.
always done, or your baby, your idea that you're now going to abandon. Like the event that you were talking about.
Yes.
That was probably painful to let go of that, at least a little bit.
It was. And one of the things that was really helpful for us to get that going, and it gives you a little bit of a secret on how you can change things, is that our whole team was involved in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So we had somebody that was helping us out with those events, and that was primarily what she did. Was helped us with those events. And right there we took off a major chunk of her job and took it away. But she was part of that discussion, and it made sense to her too, and she was totally on board with it.
Wow.
So that's a key. I mean, otherwise people will resist change, right? It's if you show up, if you disappear in your room and come out and say, we're no longer a video store, we're going to sell online videos, the team's going to look at you like, what?
Yeah.
I'm not going to change that. If you get them involved, you get them engaged, studies show that your company's more profitable, first of all, when you do that, which is not bad. You make more money.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways you make more money is you get unstuck. You can actually make changes. So I'll give you a good example. You asked for an example.
Yeah.
We work with a firm that had technicians out in the field. They were doing stuff out in the field. I'll just keep it vague like that. And the stuff that they were doing out in the field, as they grew, they had a bigger area to cover. The technicians became less and less profitable. They became less and less efficient because they're out in a bigger area. So this company, what we were seeing is their revenue's going up, their profits going down. Okay, which is bad, right? You're working, but what you're essentially doing when you do that, you're working harder for less money.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we did is we pulled a team of technicians together and said, how can we become more efficient? And one of the areas that they were stuck in is one of the technicians said, we do an hour's worth of paperwork every day. So we started talking about that, an hour's worth of paperwork. Boy, that's a lot. And they said, yeah, we have to drive back to the office and fax it back wherever we're at, so we have to get it back to the main office, and it's an hour every day for every technician out in the field. So we start thinking of things that we could do, and we're thinking as a team, and I started injecting my own ideas of like iPads out in the field that are live back using Google Docs and stuff. They could fill it out live instead of
shoots
writing
back
it out.
instantly.
Shoots back instantly, live data collection, everything. And one of the technicians is sitting in the corner kind of like this, looking at us like, what are we going to, I don't like this conversation. Finally said, what do you think? And she says, I just got to ask, what's this paperwork for anyway? So I looked to the owner and said, tell her what the paperwork's for. And the owner goes, I don't know. I don't know what the paperwork is for. That's a good question. So he says, I'll go find out, and then we'll get back together. So he leaves. He finds out. He calls me 2 hours later. He says, here's what happened. 8 years ago, which was 3 years before I bought the company, the previous owner decided to do a study So we had all of their technicians fill out this paperwork and fax it back to the office. They were faxing it back to the office. They were taking it off the fax machine. The bookkeeper was entering it into a spreadsheet, printing off the spreadsheet for some reason, taking that spreadsheet that was printed off, handing it to a second person, an administrative person, who entered it into this computer program that no one had looked at in 8 years. So you know what our solution was to making those technicians more productive?
I could guess.
We stopped doing the paperwork. Nobody was looking at it anyway. They just stopped there on 1 hour for every single technician.
A glorious moment for all the technicians.
Oh,
They were applauding and cheering.
And instead of management calling all the technicians and saying, hey, we discovered you don't have to do the paperwork anymore, we let that technician that came up with that idea call all the other technicians and say, hey, you don't have to do your paperwork anymore. So how excited, I mean, they're energized by it. They didn't even know they were stopped.
Now. Yeah.
They didn't even know they were stopped.
And they wouldn't have. If they hadn't had that conversation, they would have kept on doing the meaningless paperwork for another 8 years or whatever and wasted all the thousands of dollars.
You have so much outside insight even available on your team.
Yeah.
People see things from the day-to-day basis on all these different angles, and they're not the same angle that you see it from. And it is so powerful whenever they put those together. You get this much better perception of what's going on. Did you see the story the other day about how NSA is starting this program that they're doing random people can sign up on a website and they make predictions about national security issues, and they're outperforming NSA on their predictions?
Wait.
Say it again?
Now you're gonna have to explain this concept again.
So you sign up, you go to the NSA website, and there's a website. You can sign up, and they send you questions, and then you get like one question a day, and it says, do you think that Israel will be attacked before May 1st of next year?
Really?
A terrorist attack. And you Google stuff, and you do a little bit of art, and they don't give you any information, no intelligence stuff, and then you guess. They aggregate those 3,000 people that are currently signed up for the site, outperform NSA's predictions. Now NSA's got the secret recordings of all this. You know, they're listening to this right now. Hi NSA. You know, you say it to them right now.
You're gonna die.
I'm probably
That was probably unwise.
But this is the way to go.
No, I love it.
Next Snowden.
I love them. I'm in favor of it. I need to be listened to. So yeah, I mean that team thing is really powerful. That prediction market that's out there that you need to bring the group together. That's how you.
One thing I've never forgotten, Don, is the example that you gave where a classroom was asked a question and each one was asked to answer privately and individually, which is actually how it happens in classrooms today. And then everybody wrote down an answer to this question. The question was, when you play a violin, what makes the sound? And like 99% of the room got it wrong, or whatever. Everybody but one person got it wrong. And then whenever they opened up and let everybody talk to each other, they said, hey, we're going to ask this question. You guys talk to each other and decide what the answer is. When they did that, there was one person that knew that they knew what the answer was, and they could explain why it was and all that, and they explained to everybody else, and like, okay, we know our answer. Yeah. It's the air that makes the sound.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. It's like it's counter what's being taught in our society, but it's actually the kind of behavior that produces solutions and results.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant.
So if you're online, I mean, it's really easy. You've got this huge community. You've got this community of customers. You've got this community of people that work for you to help your distributors, your suppliers, all of those different things. Are you even listening to what they're saying? They all have perceptions of your business, right? You can walk into, think of it like this. If you ever eat out, you guys you eat at restaurants, right? Just every once in a while. When you walk into a restaurant, how long does it take you to figure out how well run the restaurant is?
When I walk in?
Yeah.
Not long, normally.
Not long at all, right?
Yeah.
You just look around. You can tell by how you're greeted, by how people walk, just how they carry themselves. You just have a feel for how good the restaurant's doing. Right? If you're a manager inside that restaurant and you're there day after day after day after day after day, it becomes normal to you. And you don't know what it's like versus other things. Going outside to get that insight is valuable.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So in like an e-commerce context, I'm thinking like, the kinds of problems that are faced. I think it's really easy for because it's so fast-paced. I think it's really easy for the owners or the managers to lose sight of who they have to ask and where they can go to get the answers. And I think you have those inside the organization, like we talked about, and also those advisors outside. We mentioned 2 particular groups there. But if you're having an issue with your fulfillment, go down to don't just talk to the warehouse manager, because he or she doesn't have the same like perspectives as the actual ground level employee that is actually packing the shelves or packing the trucks or sending the shipments out. Get more people involved, and frankly, you might I found that it really helps. Like last year, Class Llama got stuck, and we had this. We pulled in a bunch of people from all levels of our organization into a room, and we said we're going to figure out how to get unstuck, and it led into a renaissance period for our organization. But you pulled in odd people too. Like you might pull in your finance, your accountant into a conversation about warehouse management, and you might get some interesting questions. That one key question, the what's that?
So you just offended all the accountants.
I might bring somebody really boring.
They might ask some
like
super weird questions. But no, it's like that technician that was in the back of the room that said, "I just have a question." Like,
it seems really obvious to me.
Yeah,
because I live with it every day.
Yeah, and so, but again, you get people that are further away from a warehouse problem that get to look at it from a different angle. They think differently, and so just get some oddballs, like accountants, oddballs, into the room. Now I'm insulting oddballs. Last time I insulted BMWs and Brett and our show, I actually torpedoed the whole show. If you want to see the funniest show ever, you got to watch the last one. I don't know what happened to me. I probably smoked the tea that I had, and
peppermint tea,
and I torpedoed. It's actually really, really funny as long as you can accept that I actually love Brett and the show. So anyway, besides that, I don't know how I got there, but I just needed to say that out loud.
It's okay. Cleansing for you.
It's cleansing. It is.
But think about this. I think a lot of times people think about their customers and they think about their delivery model, their employees, but they miss this other group. Like when they're on LinkedIn, I get a lot of people like, "Hey, Kurt, can you connect with me? I want to show you a demo of our product. I want to get in touch with you because I think we might be able to do business." And I'm like, LinkedIn is this opportunity to connect with advisors, connect with other colleagues in the space, and not look out there and try to win
just
business.
Pitching all the time.
I see that all the time, even in networking groups, and it's like everyone's just trying to push cards and get business. It's not all about leads and customers. You probably are actually missing your greatest opportunities because you're not looking at the room and at the networks that you're in as opportunities for feedback and insight.
Yeah.
And it's probably because you don't want to look bad, or you're afraid of that feedback. A lot of times,
we feel like, I'm out here, I'm taking time away from the business, so I better be selling, I better be generating money.
That's the beautiful thing. Humble people actually end up getting the best feedback because they're willing to receive and they'll go out and find it.
When e-commerce gives you this incredible engine behind a business, right? You can sell more stuff from one person than you ever could before, right? You have more access to more customers. You don't have to know all the people that you're selling to. You just have to put out this massive, massive web on the webs, right? Attract your customers in. But what that does is now that as you grow and as you need to bring more and more people onto your team and as you need to grow, if you still are dependent on everything that you do to run that business, you're not scalable. You can't grow that anymore. You're stuck in your own mind. As you grow, you need to advance your systems. You need to work on bringing more and more people in. So I think it's a big opportunity for e-commerce businesses because of the potential for growth that's out there. And we've worked with several of them before, and what you see is rapid growth that brings a lot of people in. That suddenly they go, well, the boss says, well, I was good at handling it before, so I'm going to handle it again. And what my job is to get everybody else to do what I used to do. And that doesn't work. That limits. People will resist that. I did it this way, and this way. But there's different personalities. There's different strengths. We believe in a more strengths-based approach. Take the different personalities of the people in your group, find out where the best spot is to put them, and allow them to use their unique strengths in the organization. And guess what? Studies show on that too. Makes you more profitable.
Yeah, and actually, that's a really interesting point. One of the advisors on our board said, don't think about positions that need to be filled, but rather think about people that need to have positions created for them that facilitate all the functions. So you start with people, like you guys, exactly like you guys do in your consulting.
Like Jim Collins says, get the right people on the bus.
That's right, and put them in the right seats. The difference, what the advisors, what one of our advisors, Paul Evers, said is you actually think about the seats as something that is something you design. Like you put them in the right seats, you're actually putting them in seats that you have designed specifically related to those people's strengths, and that creates a stronger team. So, and the other thing is don't just think about problems you're looking for, because I hear that a lot. Is people are like, what are the problems that we're looking for in an organization? So let's get people around that, but also the opportunities. Those are your two categories that you're looking for. What are the problems and opportunities that we can tackle right now?
I know we've done this a few times, and we've brought people in and asked a few simple questions, and I'm not going to remember them all, but a few of them that are really good. One is what's working now. So asking your team what's working really well. Like what are we doing really well? What's not working? So what's broken? What's confusing? So I think that could uncover some of the things like the technician, the use.
Why are we filling this paperwork?
Why are we doing this? Yes. So what's confusing? And then I don't remember the other questions, but those are good places to start.
For sure. We recommend a program. What you do is you've got this organizational chart, and very seldom in an organization do they have a mechanism for pulling a cross-functional team, people from throughout that chart together. What you want to do is you want to pull that team together about once a month and ask those questions: what's working and what's not working.
They're all oddballs in that group because they're cross-functional.
They're all oddballs.
They're the oddballs from different perspectives.
It's cats and dogs.
We're shipping and we're marketing and we're accounting, and so we're looking at it from our own perspectives.
Yes, and a lot of times it's the interactions between them that are the biggest examples that are the biggest opportunities. opportunities. So when they start to really talk, if you just did this, we could do this better, and then if you did that, we could do this better, and then those start to really generate some cool ideas.
They all have keys. It's like you have 5 doors you need to get through, and they all have different keys. You got to unlock the first, and that's that one guy, and then you got to unlock the next, and that's that other. And in order to get there, you need all of their keys in order to get through all the doors.
That's right.
And wouldn't you say, Don, that even if it's a small merchant, so it's a merchant that maybe has 2 or 3 or 4 support people, they still need to do this.
Oh my gosh.
And even if it's like the same person does all the shipping and returns and marketing, they do it all by themselves.
It's more important for you to do that. It becomes exponentially harder as you grow the organization. When you're one person, your communication's perfect. You know everything that's going on, right?
Right. Yeah.
When you're 2 people, your communication breaks down significantly. When you're 3, it breaks down a lot, and it goes away. It starts spinning off for you like that. So 2, 3 people, you should be meeting and talking about what's working, what's not working, what do we need to change, and then you spin off projects to go off and take that step. We call them steps because you just want to take a bite-sized chunk and say, what things are we going to work on right now? It's also just as important to recognize, and I think e-commerce people would really appreciate this because they tend to be high imagination. Hey, let's go get this, let's go do this, let's go do this. Do everything kind of people. If you're trying to do everything, you're probably not doing anything very well.
Yep, great point.
So what you need to be doing on this team is prioritizing the things that you need to be working on, saying we're going to work on these things next, we're going to spin off some teams, get some engagement, they're going to come back, and then we're going to talk about what's happened with it, and then only when that's done, we're going to decide to pick the next thing. So
if you will follow the show, what you're hearing here is some of those agile principles that we've already brought up coming out again. Is you can't attack everything at once. You really actually should only be targeting like 1 or 2 things at a time. So great, like do that brainstorm session and blow out this long list, but then prioritize that list and focus your energies on the top of that list. And that's we've been speaking to that. That's preaching to the choir for sure.
The clients that we've had that have launched Agile methodology, we just love it because it's so people-centric.
Totally fits with what you do.
And Agile methodology works better when you have some strengths training in front of it. It's kind of interesting. We work with some Agile consultants who have talked about that, about what causes it to fail. And what causes it to fail is the paradigm of I'm the designer, I design. I'm the programmer, I program. I have this role, and I only do this one thing. Where it doesn't take into account that maybe my gifts are I can program, but I can kind of see pretty good design, or I can put
it's like position centrism versus people centrism.
That's exactly right. We like people centrism just because it's in the name.
People-centric.
People-centric.
I'm sorry. We're not plugging, but we need to get the phrase right.
And you can still buy PCP from our website, just so you know.
Whoa!
Awesome. I'm good.
Changing my
You're there for sure.
Man, the new guy is so expensive.
Good. Well, as we wrap up, and this has been fantastic, Don. This has been awesome, really fun, and it's great to have someone so humble on the show. I mean, we really feel honored to have someone of this level of humility and awesomeness.
Because it really is a big deal for both of you, really.
So here's the deal. Actionable bites. In your business right now, in my business right now, there are opportunities and problems we are not even aware of, and those are the things that can bite you. I've just been reading Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull, the president and co-founder of Pixar. And that's something he says is, I'm always looking for that's what I'm freaking out about, is what are the things I don't know about yet? What are the things that are uncovered? What are the things that are hidden to me? Those are the things we need to be looking for. So
creating those mechanisms where
those mechanisms in place.
Sticking points are going to be
outside perspective, cross-functional groups in your organization, and commit to those things like they are like essential to your business, just like fulfillment, just like sales. These things are essential to your long-term success. And so commit to them like they're just as important. And I just believe with all my heart that if you're humble and you're willing to really listen and receive in that context, that you're setting your business up to be sustainable and to go gangbusters.
Great leaders are vulnerable.
Absolutely.
It's one of the most important characteristics of leaders are vulnerable.
That takes a lot of courage if you think about it. That takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength.
It's a lot harder than to show up and just say, listen to me, shut up, I'm just going to tell you what to do. It's harder to say, I don't know what to do right now.
Brilliant. Love it.
Team together.
Because most of the time you're wrong. As a leader, most of the time you're wrong. You're probably going to be right about 30% of the time if you're lucky, and that's why you need everybody else. So listen, especially because he's wearing a tie, this goes to Don.
You don't need to keep it.
You can't really touch it even. But Don gets it, and then I'm going to put it back in my shelf. So hey, you all have a great week. Thanks for tuning in to the Llama Commerce Show. Don, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We'd love to have you again sometime.
This is fun.
And you guys all.
Tomorrow?
I think I'm booked a little bit.
Wow.
So
as always, let us know other topics and let us know what you thought about Don. And we'd love to have Don back some point in time. That'd be good. And with that, I think we'll close by saying,
stay classy.